Hi class, thanks for tuning in for another math lesson. You're going to need your student reference guide, you're going to need your math notes, a pencil, an eraser, and that's probably about it. We're going to be starting a new lesson or a new unit today. It's chapter 11, metric, length, mass, and volume. There's a comic that you can read to yourself and it's on page 31. Could probably pause me for a second. Okay, page 32 and 33, I want you to go through on your own. It's all about recalling prior knowledge, some of which you quite possibly know. Some of it was covered last year. So go ahead and review those. Also page 34. We're going to start on page 35 together. Now, before we start, there's two vocabulary words that I definitely want to make sure that you know. So the first one is meter, and that is abbreviated with an M in parentheses, and then centimeter, and that's abbreviated with CM. Okay, so the first example, let's look at together on page 35. It says, use meters to measure length. The statement says the length of the ribbon is 1 meter. Now, that little girl is saying that the meter and the centimeter are units of length. And the other person says some really important information. 1 meter is 100 times as long as 1 centimeter. So there we're told a conversion. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And that's something that we will need to be paying attention to as we proceed through this lesson today, because we will be converting meters and centimeters. Okay, so let's look down at the next box that says learn. Let's see what this example says. The heading on this one says convert meters and centimeters to centimeters. So here's an example. Kate's height is 1 meter and 38 centimeters. So what is the height just in centimeters? So you can take the 1 meter and 38 centimeters. I'll write that down. 1 meter and 38 centimeters. And they're saying to look at it in two different ways. So 1 meter, we know, equals 100 centimeters. Okay, so here's our first thoughts. But now we have to deal with the 38 centimeters. So then there's 38 centimeters. And then what we have to do is we have to put those 2 centimeters together. So we have to add the 100 centimeters plus the 38 centimeters. You might be able to do that one in your head. It would be 138 centimeters. Okay, let's turn the page. Page 36. It's going to start guided learning. So guided learning, I'm going to do with you because I want to be able to give you those answers as we move through, just so that you make sure that you're on the same page. But just like in class, when we get to the let's practice, that's going to be on your own. So practice along with me as I guide you through the guided learning. We're going to start off with number 1 on page 36. Says to complete. It says the length of a car is 4 meters, 56 centimeters. So let's write that down. Write this down with me. 4 meters, 56 centimeters. So here's what I have first. So now let's break it out. Let's separate out the meters. 4 meters. Think, what would we need to multiply that by? 4 times, and you can always think back here, 4 times 100 gets us to 400 centimeters. Oops, 400. I almost left that 0 out. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. Now we just have to deal with the 56 centimeters. So 56 centimeters, and then we need to put those together. So 400 centimeters plus 56 centimeters. Hopefully you can do that in your head. And here's where we come up with 456 centimeters. So the length of the car is 456 centimeters. The key there was multiplying that 4 times 100 to get 400. Keep that conversion in mind, that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. We're going to need that throughout this lesson. Okay, let's look at the middle example on page 36. Now that one says learn, so it says convert centimeters to meters and centimeters. So here's an example. Suzanne jumps 125 centimeters from the starting line. How many meters and centimeters did she jump? Okay, so they're breaking it down. They've got 125 centimeters. 100 centimeters equals 1 meter plus the 25. Okay, so that gets her to, she jumped 1 meter and 25 centimeters. Let's go to number 2. It says complete. The snake is blank centimeters long. It is blank meter and blank centimeters long. Okay, so you're really going to need to zoom in your book to see exactly. So think about it for a second, and then I'll share the answer with you just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay, hopefully you saw by looking closely at that example, that diagram on page 36, that the snake is 150 centimeters long. Therefore, it is 1 meter and 50 centimeters long. Okay, glance over at page 37. Here is the let's practice. Okay, for the let's practice, you've got 1 through 8 to complete. And make sure in your student reference guide, when you're writing things, or I'm sorry, not your student reference guide, your math notebook. Remember that when you're writing things down, let's start with our title. I'll put it here as an example. So this is how you would want to start your first blank page. You're going to start with the let's practice. You're going to remind yourself that it's on page 37 so that you know where the answers would match in your book. Number 1, you're going to get that answer because you don't know how much space you're going to need. And then I don't have lines on my paper, but you do in your math notebook. Skip a couple of lines before you do number 2, because at the beginning of the next lesson video that I make for you guys, I will show these let's practice answers before we begin the next lesson. So make sure that you always have those math notes with you and that you just space it out, because it'll just make it a lot easier to check your work. Okay, good luck. Tell yourself that you can do it even if you're not quite sure about this new unit yet. It's always tricky in the beginning. And if you can ask for help with somebody at home, great. If not, write it down for me and ask an adult to email me later, and I'll do my best to help you. All right, check back later for the next lesson in this unit. Good luck. Bye.